Okay, so first of all, everything in this video is spoiler free. This is only the info that we have confirmed for phase 2. Everything in the data mining could be for phase 3 or later, and I'll cover that in its own video. There's also a 30-minute slideshow video that Blizzard put out, but I trust that you guys are actually able to read, so I'm not going to literally read a giant forum post to you. I'm just going to talk about the impact of what we're seeing, why you should care about it, and what it means for you. Let's start with the more general stuff and then go into the classrooms. They showed this slide that says they have new tech to combat botting, and it's positive. This continues the trend of them desperately trying to reassure the player base while being as vague as possible. Gnomer is a 10-man raid with 6 bosses. It'll have its own world buff, and the old world buffs won't work past level 39, and the profession stuff with the raid quest will also be in there. They leaked these items, the most notable being fist and mace skill gloves, this armor on use trinket with a 30-minute cooldown, and the new crowd pummeler. The rest seem kind of boring and underwhelming. They showed 3-piece tier sets, which are all pretty boring besides the male 3-piece that gives your attacks a 5% chance to restore 100 mana. It was hard for players to collect their 3-set in BFD, and so they're going to use tier tokens now, which is a pretty solid win. There's new skill books now. Rogues are getting redirect, paladins are getting enhanced blessing, so you don't have to rebuff every 5 minutes, and shamans are getting totemic projection, most likely to move their totems. These drop from 5-player dungeons. I thought redirect would be like misdirection, but it actually says manipulating combo points for rogues and the targets these are on, so it looks like we can move our combo points now. All the leaked pictures about the Blood Moon PvP event are true. This is nothing like the Ashenvale event. There are no objectives. You just kill players to get something, and then there's a merchant outside the Gurubashi arena to trade that something in. This event lasts 30 minutes and happens every 3 hours. The chosen Blood Loa will kill all in their path, so you could be questing and just get ganked out of nowhere by NPCs, I guess. In order to make this less frustrating, you can speak to the Zandalari Assembly to opt out of the event, but you're still flagged for PvP on PvP realms. It's unsure if the event still happens around you and it just doesn't affect you, or if you go to another layer where the event is not happening. You can get deep fried tiger and raptor mounts on either faction somehow from the event, and there will be an increased way to get a Wrathy Basin rep even though it's not tied to the event at all. Pre-made queuing battlegrounds will increase your chance to fight other pre-mades, but if you wait too long you'll just fight pugs anyway now. They showed some new craftable profession items, all with a 10-minute cooldown on them, the most high impact of these being the cloth one, lowering your mana cost by 50% and giving you 50 spell power for 12 seconds. They are also adding some consolation prizes in case you pick the wrong profession like enchanting or alchemy. The alchemy potion has this RP text on it that hints that it could malfunction and kill you, which is insanely bad when you're just trying to get 400 mana. They said that they would ban GDKPs but did not say how, so organize your GDKPs in Discord now and then you should be good to go. And there's a 50% XP buff from level 1 to 25, making all the time that I put into leveling every class kind of wasted now. That's it for the general stuff. Let's get into the runes. Again, I'm not going to read everything word by word to you. I'm just going to tell you what it means. These are all belt and boot runes besides one, and the boot runes are all cooldown or utility focused in some way. None of them are major damage increases. Starting with Hunter because it's really exciting. If you've been subbed to me for a while now, you already know that we are getting Trap Launcher and a better Raptor Strike. This was data mined before SOD even came out, and I made this nice video on it. I was the only one to really notice them update the tooltips on old abilities like adding 40-yard range to traps, so if you're not subscribed, you should totally do that because this is becoming a trend. They're just going to let you put them down in combat with a 40-yard range and separate cooldown for fire and frost traps. Now the melee rune is what is really exciting, and it's outright removing the Mongoose Spike cooldown and giving Raptor Strike a 3-second cooldown with a 30% chance not to even trigger that cooldown. So now the 30-second cooldown on Flanking Strike finally makes sense. Unless they add some crazy stuff for range hunters, this is what everybody's going to be doing. And you think that you might run into mana issues spamming attacks like this, but that 3-piece mail set bonus I mentioned earlier would come in clutch for this. Moving on to Rogue, we already knew we were getting Shuriken Toss as a belt rune from the BlizzCon teaser, but this is unlike any Shuriken Toss ability that's ever been in the game. This one hits 5 targets and gives you a combo point. These tooltips are critically missing the cooldown and cost of all of these, so this ability could be total trash or really nice. Either way, we're getting an AoE. There's also the Master of Subtlety talent from the Subtree and Wrath on your boots. This might be nice for ganking people in the STV event, but it's pretty useless in Battlegrounds with the 20% damage reduction still being baseline and Blizzard still not addressing it at all. Warriors are getting Rallying Cry. This is the retail Rallying Cry, like the bonus HP cooldown for 10 seconds on your raid. It is not Commanding Shout. Stop saying it's Commanding Shout. It is not Commanding Shout. Look, it has a 10-second duration. It's not Commanding Shout. And there's this Blood Surge rune, which is a Fury talent from Wrath of the Lich King. This is only usable as Fury because it says Heroic Strike in there. It does not say Mortal Strike. That says Heroic Strike. And this will be totally busted if it works with Quick Strike, which I believe it should. This teaser alone shows that warriors are still eating well next phase. Shaman is actually getting 3 runes unlike the others. This is pretty obviously because they're retroactively adding a 2-hand mastery rune after the outcry in November for 2-hand Shaman. This is obvious because it's the only chest rune being added, and it's pretty likely that they had everything set up for phase 1 back in November and they couldn't just throw it in there, so they're adding it in now. The only other option on your chest would have been dual wield spec or overload. We're getting Maelstrom weapon, but this is not like the Wrath of the Lich King Maelstrom. This includes Lava Burst. And hello, this is just insane. You'll likely continue to run 2 fast daggers and just spam out procs with double rock biter on. And if Shamans had this now, you probably wouldn't even need a healer for BFD. You could just use the Maelstrom stacks to heal. If you have mana issues, you could run Water Shield, and that 3-piece mail set bonus will also be insane for Shamans here. You also get a threat buff you can put on anybody for 30 minutes, which is real nice. talents. Druids are getting Eclipse, a very welcome addition from the Wrath Lich King balance tree. Lots of Wrath talents coming in here. Great that it gives you crit because balance has lots of crit modifiers in their tree and no problems with Wrath being free with the rune. But this one also gives you 70% pushback reduction at all times, so depending on when you get this, you could level as a boomkin pretty easily. The boot rune just upgrades Tiger's Fury from the crappy vanilla version to the Wrath Lich King version, which was also data mined months ago and in my video, so I'm not really shocked to see this here. Priests get this weird Mind Spike and Pain Sup that doesn't reduce threat. It doesn't say what the cooldown of this Mind Spike is, if it has one, but it does give you crit on your Mind Blast. I'm hoping it's a low cooldown, but priests don't really have any crit modifiers in their talent tree, so the Mind Blast isn't really going to hit that hard. Warlocks are giving this weird thing that gives you a tick of your dots if you refresh them with 6 or less seconds left, which has counter synergy with Everlasting Affliction. You could easily clip a dot tick by doing this too early, so this seems kind of weird. You have 2 ticks left with 6 seconds remaining, but the rune only gives you 1. Then a nice tanking rune that gives you 2% max mana on crit and gives you dodge equal to your spell crit. Combos pretty nicely with Demonic Grace and Demonic Tactics as they give the same stuff, but there's really no incentive to stack a whole bunch of dodge, so hopefully they add something like that too. Mage gets Missile Barrage and some crazy weird healing ability. I knew Missile Barrage was coming because the scrolls are items which can be easily data mined, and they're an anagram of the rune that you get when you decipher them. It's the same as Missile Barrage from Wrath, but with a much higher proc chance. Reminder, it also procs for Fireball and Frostbolt. And honestly, this healing ability is so weirdly worded, this could be a channel or a cooldown or really anything. They do have to fix mage healing soon, because right now any mage that casts an arcane spell within 40 yards of a temporal beacon will heal that temporal beacon even if they're not in a group or raid with them. The stacking mages could easily get out of hand in the future, but at this point nobody's really abusing it. It's just kind of going under the radar. Last is the Paladin. They get a rune that gives them spell power for attack power, and it leaves a hot when you crit heal. There's no reason why a Holy Pally wouldn't want to take this too. And they get a passive that gives them a buff when they auto attack that floods them with mana but reduces healing by 50%. This is pretty much Divine of Plea from Wrath but without a cooldown. And it's kind of interesting, they listed the 3 Holy Pally abilities on here but no other ones, so we might not be getting any more than that. Hopefully Wreck gets more to help their damage and Holy gets literally anything at any point in the expansion. But that said, I think the big winners here are Hunter, Warrior, and Shaman in my opinion. Hopefully the other classes get some crazy stuff, but I don't see why they wouldn't tease the most exciting things first like at BlizzCon, so I wouldn't have crazy expectations. Subscribe for more fast hot takes on the news, and if this inspired you to level something up before Phase 2, I have a guide for every class you could find in a big playlist right here.